Tell me, has this ever happened to you? Oh boy, I can't wait to do MOC today. Yippee! Oh man, what did I do wrong? Well, no fear, I'm here to help you out. A while ago, I made a video talking about every team in HSR, explaining how they work, and giving you lineups for every single one. Today, we'll be doing that again, but a little differently. The game has grown an insane amount since version 3.0, and there are more characters who are relevant than ever before. This will be part 1 of a 2-part series, with this video explaining hypercarry teams, and the second video going over how to make every dual DPS team in HSR instead. We'll be focusing on how the characters function, what they need to succeed, and what their ideal team should look like. This is going to be a long 2 videos, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, become a YouTube member down below, and maybe grab a snack or 2. Let's get into it. What I want to do before we get into all the characters and teams is explain the general archetype and some more specific teams. With so many characters available in HSR, we do have a few peculiar cases of teams that can kind of fall under multiple umbrellas without being too set in stone. There are also some characters who are capable of being main DPS and sub DPS, and that completely changes what teams they would appear in. It sounds complicated, but just stick with me here and I'll explain it all nice and easy. So now, dear viewer, we must ask the question, what is a hypercarry team, and how does it work? Hypercarry teams focus on buffing one main DPS character to their maximum, with 2 supports and a sustain, or 3 supports in the case of sustainless. Hypercarry is admittedly a pretty blanket term, as it doesn't just apply to crit characters. The break teams of Firefly, Boot Hill, and Rappa all count as hypercarry as well, since they fit this exact description. We will mostly be focusing on the crit variant of hypercarry, as historically, that's what most of the strongest characters in the game have fallen under, including the newly released powerhouse DPS, Himiko Nova. These teams are thankfully pretty simple to understand, with the real difference coming from how unique each and every individual DPS is. Almost all hypercarry also have 1 or even 2 specific supports they excel with in the meta, and that's the biggest difference from the last time I did this video. There is no Ho-Ho or Tribby or Sunday to slot into every team now. Even with incredibly strong supports existing with Mordenax Blade and Sparkle, these characters aren't the end-all be-all to team building now. Star Rail has grown and changed a lot, and the one-size-fits-all mentality is nowhere near as prevalent anymore. That's why for each individual section, I'll make note of the key support each character needs to be great. That way, your teams won't indirectly suffer by not having the most important support for your success. Long preamble, I know, but now, let's quickly move on to some characters who are a little awkward to talk about. First up are Gilgamesh and Rin. These 2 are characters who do actually have the ability to be hypercarry DPS, especially in the case of Rin. She has a phenomenal team with Saridra and Sparkle for those interested in not using Archer. However, for both of these characters, they are primarily buffs to Archer and Saber, and are meant to be dual DPS characters. This is a bit awkward, but instead of having them appear here without explaining their best situations, we'll be talking about them in the dual DPS video instead. It just makes more sense flow-wise. The other exception is Break, as I mentioned earlier. These teams are all the exact same team, but simply running with a different DPS character. As long as you have Dahlia and Fugue for your main DPS, you're perfectly fine to run Break. Now, with that long intro out of the way, let's finally talk about some hypercarry characters, shall we? The most relevant hypercarry characters in the game right now are Seele, Aglia, Anexa, Himiko Nova, Feon, Mighty, Evanessia, that one is a bit weird but bear with me, and Acheron. Acheron right now is admittedly a weird case, so let's start with her. Acheron is an Nihility character who embodies the values of destroying her enemy better than almost anyone else in this game. She is a former Anniversary character who had not only a unique ult charge, but one of the strongest ults in the game to boot. The reason Acheron is a unique case among hypercarry characters is that she often excels the most when she has specifically 2 Nihility characters on her team compared to any other support type. She specifically benefits from Nihility over anything else due to her traces, and this only changes when she's at E2. The main objective for an Acheron team specifically is to get off the defense reduction of both debuffers, and then quickly accumulate enough stacks of her ultimate for Acheron to unleash it on the enemy. This cycle will be your constant rinse and repeat. Keep the enemy defense low, and make sure Acheron ults when that defense shred is at the max to get the most value out of your ultimate stacks. Acheron typically won't be building as many stacks on her own, so making sure all of your characters can inflict a debuff or one character can do double duty is pretty pivotal. Now the last time I did this, I listed off the ideal teams and some alternative options you would want with each DPS. This time around I'll continue that, but focusing more on the ideal characters since, as Star Rail has continued, more and more characters have become reliant on single support compared to simply overall good options. Telling you to use Tingyun or Pela as replacement options isn't really genuine, so I'll refrain from that this time around. Now, as for Acheron's best team, the main support you want is Mordenak's Blade, and this is a non-negotiable. He is a massive buff for Acheron, while also having a lot of firepower all on his own. He is capable of outputting solid damage, while also being the leading stack generator for Acheron and her teams. After this, your second support doesn't matter quite as much, but ideally, you should be picking between Welt or Ashvale. Ashvale is a surprisingly adept option for Acheron, boasting a pretty good passive defense reduction, consistent attack capability, massive damage output, and SP neutrality, which means more SP for Acheron to use. The case of using Welt for her is still strong though, and he is by far the best option if you have his powerful E4 unlocked. Both characters are incredible for her, and can be used to achieve great results. Without these two, Cypher and Silverwolf are also fine options, with Silverwolf being a 50-50 loss character and having great Eidolons that can help Acheron a lot. When it comes to sustains, this is often the slot where you can actually get away with anything, but Hyacinth is a top option thanks to her ability to keep Blade alive and having solid damage and even a debuff on her light cone. Without her, Ho-Ho from the shop is also a solid option. So your ideal Acheron team should be her, Mordenak's Blade, Ashvale or Welt, and a healer of your choice, but ideally Hyacinth if you have her. Now we can talk about the character I spent my entire time playing this game waiting for, the newest hypercarry in HSR, Himiko Nova. Himiko Nova is a pretty powerful Erudition character, with good flexibility thanks to her unique mechanic of assist skills. She gets the most use out of Astral Express members, but almost anyone can be a great option for her if they're strong or invested. Himiko Nova focuses on using assist skills to deal damage to her enemies, which leads to her ultimate, where she obliterates the battlefield with a series of blasts from Starblazer. Any character is capable of using an assist skill as long as Himiko still has charges for it. Each skill will do damage to the entire field, and depending on the teammate doing the skill, can activate a powerful damage buff for either Himiko Nova or the entire team. This is all capped off with that nice bonus for Express characters, being that they will receive an extra turn when using assist skill, meaning you can get double the value from those specific characters. She has a lot in her kit, but it ultimately boils down to a simple formula, and that's where a lot of the character freedom comes from. Your ideal teammates without considering Eidolons would be RMC and Mordenak's Blade. Blade is simply the best global support in the game, but a Sparkle with Eidolons or E4 Welt can easily compete with him. RMC, he is simply the best Express support, so it's a pretty easy choice there to get extra turns after using assist skills. I cannot emphasize enough, however, Himiko Nova is a very flexible character. She loves Astral Express, but a strong Mordenak's Blade or Sparkle, or anything else, should be a top consideration for this team. Build around her how you can, and I'm sure it'll work out. She also has an incredible light cone and Eidolons if you want her team to perform better without getting more supports. As for a sustain, DHPT and Ho-Ho are both good options, so whoever you aren't using can be plugged in here. Your ideal team for Himiko Nova will be her, RMC, Blade, and Ho-Ho. This is a great beginner-friendly character that I really cannot recommend enough. Plenty of freedom, very easy to make better for the time being, and extremely powerful, with seemingly more potential to improve in the future. With Himiko done, we're going to speed up a bit since there are a lot of characters left and I'm already a few pages in. I've really got to start condensing better, man. Next character up is the greatly improved Seele, who is now a much greater force to reckon with in the current meta. Seele's game plan revolves around being heavily buffed by her teammates and constantly aiming to eliminate enemies in one move, or at the very least, bringing them to half health. This will trigger her signature ability, Resurgence, which allows her to move again with increased damage. While it may sound like a simple mechanic, you end up being able to do stuff like this. Wow. This is a character with a massively high skill ceiling and, honestly, a fairly low skill floor, so you have to be confident and knowledgeable to get the most out of Seele. With that in mind, her best teammates are pretty simple, as losing any of these characters is a pretty massive detriment. Your two key supports have to be Sparkle especially, and in most cases, Ceredra. These two enable the full potential of Seele's power, allowing her constant skill uses and double skills if you have Ceredra. These also have the same potential to trigger Resurgence, so they are extremely powerful. Seele is the first character to be most commonly played as a sustainless character, so with that in mind, there are actually some option differences. Asheville is great for pure fiction as a dual DPS, RMC is great as both a free-to-play and versatile action advancer with true damage, and Robin is a good choice as 100% action advance is always helpful no matter what, especially in flights like APOC Flame Reaver. All three choices are pretty viable, and even someone like Tribby or Blade can be valid if you have those. It really does depend entirely on the enemy you'll be playing into. Outside of an extra support, your sustain can usually be DHPT, as his SP positivity is very important for Seele. Your Seele team should be her, Sparkle, Ceredra, and DHPT or an additional support. Remember, Seele is a very difficult character, so take your time with learning how to make best use of her. Now for our next character. This is a pretty big shakeup from the characters discussed so far. We will be talking about the Elation DPS, Evanessia. Now, Elation is a team type that is honestly its own unique thing, requiring characters of that specific path to really excel. However, there are two main DPS options for Elation teams, and wouldn't you know it, one is hypercarry, and one is more dual DPS. Silverwolf and Sparksy are at their best when sharing a team, so those two will be discussed in the next video. Evanessia, on the other hand, is easily the central damage dealer of her team, and as such, we'll discuss her here. Yes, I know EMC is technically a sub-DPS. Do we really want to get into the damage difference? Let's quickly go over Elation for anyone who hasn't used it before. The Elation Path signature mechanic is AHA Instance, and Elation damage. As long as one character on the team is Elation, AHA will appear in the action order. These instants, when they come up, unleash powerful Elation skills that can do damage, debuff, and generate certified banger for your Elation characters. For each Elation character on your team, the speed of an AHA instant will increase as well, easily allowing it to go 2 times per cycle if you have 3 Elation teammates. Elation damage, on the other hand, is what Elation skills and even things like Evanessia and Sparksy's ultimates deal most of their damage with. It's a unique damage type similar to true damage, being calculated completely differently to anything else. Now, let's finally talk about our fox friend here. Evanessia is a powerful damage dealer who not only thrives in AoE, but also in single target scenarios. She has pretty unique mechanics overall, with the main one being her unique energy regen formula. Eva has a massive 240 cost ultimate, with a max energy of 480. To keep up with this massive amount, Eva has it in her kit that she can regen energy whenever she gains certified bangers. So every time an instant is completed, Evanessia's energy will spike up a massive amount. She also has Master Fox. Master Fox will progressively charge as Evanessia accumulates energy, and when she accumulates 240 energy, Master Fox will reach 100 charge, letting out an attack that gives Eva energy and inflicts a debuff on all enemies. Evanessia is a pretty unique character, with a lot of potential for skill expression. Luckily for anyone worried, her teammate situation is pretty simple, although definitely not flexible. Her ideal team is her, Yao Guang, EMC, and Huohuo. This is far and away her best team when not playing sustainless, and it really isn't close either. Yao Guang is a staple of Elation teams and is really needed to make the archetype truly function. EMC is a completely free option, who really only gets dwarfed by high Eidolon supports in most cases. Huohuo is also far and away the best healing option thanks to her energy regen on ultimate, granting Evanessia even more powerful ults and more Master Fox attacks. Evanessia is an incredibly powerful character, and while her flexibility is definitely a bit low, she also has 2 free characters in her team. An overall phenomenal character for anyone wanting to get into Elation. Now viewers, we have a bit of a doozy here to end the video. There are 4 characters left to talk about today. The Bringer of the Dawn, Feon, the Prince of Castrum Kremnos, Mighty, the Elegant Gold Weaver, Lady Aglia, and the man who snatched her to spot in the meta, Anexa. There are a lot of characters left, yes, but it's not as bad as you think. The reason is, many of these characters share a similarity in their team building, and it is of course, Cyrene. Christos heirs all receive a unique buff when paired with Pink Jesus over here, and she finds her way into almost all of their best teams. There are some other similar characters that also have overlap luckily, so hopefully this section won't be too long. Now, let's start with the most different of the 4 characters, Feon. Feon is a character who I have talked about extensively on this channel, and for good reason. In my opinion, he is one of the most unique and impressive characters in all of HSR. This is the closest thing to becoming a raid boss that I've seen in a long time, and I absolutely love it. Let's break down how he works. Feon has a unique ultimate charge mechanic called Core Flame. Feon will gain Core Flames when using his skill, or when allies target him with abilities. Upon reaching 12 Core Flames, Feon can activate his ultimate, turning him into Castellana. Castellana will then go solo, destroying the enemies with his 3 unique abilities. These range from a simple blast attack, a counter that will action advance enemies, and a massive meteor that drops right on the heads of your foes. This character nowadays is definitely a bit more flashy than actually powerful, but that doesn't mean he's bad by any means, still being one of the most popular and versatile DPS in the game. Moving on to his teammates, there is one character who stands above the rest for Feon in my opinion. It's not Cyrene, it's not RMC, it is Seele. Her unique ability to duplicate skills is massive for both Feon and Anexa, as we'll talk about later, and enabling Feon to do his strongest attack twice is a complete blessing. Outside of her, there are a few more unique options to pick from. Cyrene is a viable choice for longer fights, as Feon will essentially be in his ult form permanently with her buff. However, this then requires you to use RMC, or else Cyrene will never get her ult charge. If you want a non-Cyrene teammate, which can often be more viable for low cycle clears, you'll be looking at Sparkle as a top teammate, thanks to her powerful rework from version 4.0. Every Feon team will contain some variation of these characters. It's simply about what characters you have on your account, and what the rest of your teams need. I'll say the most optimal team for Feon right now is him, Seele, Sparkle, and either Bronya or RMC. Feon is another character who is best played sustainless to the point I wouldn't really recommend ever using a sustain on him. It's a massive loss in damage, which he's already lacking quite a bit of in current day. Now we move on to Anexa, who's quite similar in his teammate situation. We're gonna list Anexa's ideal teammates now instead of later, as honestly, they are practically essential to his playstyle. Anexa's best team is himself, Cyrene, RMC, and Seele for sustainless. If you really want to sustain, DHPT and Hyacinth are both ideal here. So why does Anexa want specifically these characters? Well, Anexa is a skill-based DPS who has the unique property of firing additional skills when certain conditions are met. Anexa on his own can fire 2 skills in a row, which is already extremely powerful. With Seele, this could be 4 straight skills and 20 instances of damage. The real shocker is with Cyrene. Cyrene can action advance Anexa, allowing him to use his skill when he does. This instance of skill will fire 8 shots instead of the usual 5, while also applying to his additional skill. With Cyrene and Seele, Anexa is capable of dealing 32 instances of damage. Absolutely insane. RMC is there purely because true damage is broken, and Anexa does like going often. This is a team that has persisted through all content for quite some time, even despite their limitations. Anexa's team will likely only get worse from here, but with good strategy and builds at your disposal, he will still remain relevant for quite a bit longer. To keep the men train rolling, something I'm sure many of the ladies in the audience would love, let's talk about Mighty next. Pink Jesus is back, folks, as this is another team containing Cyrene as an absolutely essential character. Mighty is another skill-based DPS, and much like Anexa, he benefits immensely from the unique buff given by Cyrene. Mighty's mechanic is pretty simple at the start, as he will enter an auto battle state upon accumulating 100 charge from using his skill, or losing HP in general. Once this happens, Mighty will continuously attack to gain charge. When reaching 150 charge, he will unleash his most powerful attack, Godslayer Be God. This attack is devastating and is the key aspect of his kit. And viewers, you will never guess what Cyrene does. She allows another use of Godslayer Be God when using her ult on Mighty. This is devastating and lends to a pretty amazing playstyle where timing can be very important. Just like Anexa, a team to help Cyrene is pretty essential here, with Cyrene and RMC being core team members. As of right now, Mordenak's Blade is likely the best final slot for Mighty, but Tribby is still a viable option as it does help with initial charge. Your best team for Mighty will be him, Cyrene, RMC, and Blade. Mighty may not be the best in the game or anything, but he is a character who has improved a lot thanks to Cyrene, and has achieved some real gameplay depth, which is pretty amazing to see compared to his initial release. Finally, our last character of the day. This character is also one of my favorites in HSR, and who I think is one of the most unique characters in the entire game, Aglia. Aglia was the first of many speed scaling 5 stars, becoming stronger the faster you made her. Besides looking like a modern Sonic the Hedgehog, her strength comes from her ultimate, enhancing her form and granting a joint attack with her memo sprite, Garment Maker. These two will slowly destroy enemies with a consistent onslaught of attacks. and all of Aglia's best teammates are built with this in mind. The best teammates here can actually range quite a bit, so let me explain. Aglia benefits from Cyrene's unique buff a lot, as it grants her a lot of energy and extra damage. RMC also pairs perfectly with both of them, so that's another solid teammate. Without E2 Cyrene, the ult charge can be slow though, since at her best, Aglia really wants an additional support since her damage has become more lackluster. This is where you'll see characters like Sunday and Robin. These two were the initial Aglia supports, and realistically, they can actually still be the best options for her right now. Combined with Mordenak's Blade as a strong debuffer, any combination of these characters can really excel when it comes to making Aglia great. If I personally had to pick, I would say Aglia's best team without higher investment is her, Cyrene, RMC, and literally whoever else you can manage for that last slot. Maybe a little singing bird if you catch my drift. As for those other characters, Tribby is good, current Robin with investment is good, Mordenak's Blade is good. Just pick something really strong to make her hit harder, and it'll work out in the end. With Aglia done, that wraps up our video for today. Now I know obviously a lot of characters are missing, but like I had mentioned earlier, I really wanted to focus on characters who see consistent use for the wide majority of players. For the most part, after the characters I listed today, any other character is going to need extreme investment and will likely not be worth it for beginning to intermediate level players, which is what I try to cater these videos to. I hope you all understand, and I hope you all enjoyed the video regardless. I'm really looking forward to following this up with the dual DPS video, so I hope you're all excited about that as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I've got plenty more good videos coming out soon, so I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye!